Hi, this is Amária Sweet with HeartMind Expressions podcast, and I'm here with Steve Cefalo. He is a really well-trained artist, actually trained by some of the best living realist artists here in the world, and studied at the Art Academy at Cincinatti. He
Taught at
taught
the Art Academy.
Oh, that's the one I got. So he taught at the Art Academy as well as University of Arkansas in Fayetteville, Arkansas, and then he studied at the New York School of Visual Arts. There we
Correct.
go. There we go. And then worked for Jeff Koons and was a Rugrats illustrator. And then he's got paintings as well that are in different museums and private collections worldwide. And his main focus right now is illustrating for disclosure. And so I would actually like to hand it over to Steve and take it from there, kind of explain with your credentials and stuff, maybe a brief history of where you've come from as an artist and what your spiritual awakening is bringing you to through service to others through this disclosure movement.
Sure. Yes. So, all my life I wanted to be I just was an artist. It was like, it was like somehow, as soon as I could walk and talk, I knew I was an artist. It was like, I never considered anything else. Just I drew, and that's what I did. I drew pictures, and that's what I was supposed to be good at. So there's never any question about it. But I would say most of my life, it was kind of about me being Mr. Successful, great artist guy, and there's a lot of identity and a lot of I would say, now I'd use the word ego wrapped up in that identity. And I would say with what I would call my spiritual awakening, my waking up, my shift, I found those desires really falling off. Like it's just like it's endlessly disappointing,
Right.
to have this image of what you think you're supposed to be, and it's designed, to frustrate you.
Right.
You look all through art history, and you see people driven mad by this idea that they're supposed to be something special, and it never works out the way you want
it. Definitely goes in all of the fine arts. I can definitely relate, just being a performer and kind of a public figure since I was a kid. I was always up in front of crowds speaking or acting or singing or something in band, or just always something that we're doing. And that pressure is real. It's hardcore when someone figures out, ooh, they can do something, then it's like, do it perfect, or and
Yeah,
basically,
and it's kind of programmed in us, like I don't know if it's nefarious programming, but from the time we're little kids, people are feeding you this thing to follow your dreams.
right.
It's like you can be anything you want, and you deserve to be whatever you dreamed you are.
And by the way, it's hard as hell, but do it.
It is. It's and you can make yourself profoundly sad,
Right.
chasing a dream too far, which is, I think, what I did. But all these things came at the same time. It was just like a divorce, a complete shift in the way that I see the world. Like a career just sort of bombing with leaving, moving back to New York City, and where I worked for Jeff Koons again after I just went back to my old job at Koons when I got divorced.
Right.
Making multi-million-dollar paintings for somebody else.
I know, right?
For hourly wage. That's what I was doing in New York. I was making like $5 million paintings. Celebrities coming in, and it's cool. Like there's make a lot of friends and stuff. But I started listening to podcasts to keep myself awake, because there is a point where you're working on these paintings, and like you're literally like you're on a scaffold, like you get like you start to think you're Michelangelo or something. You're sleeping on a scaffold, like spending the night
Wow.
on the scaffold and waking up and painting, and music stops cutting it for me. Like, you know, I get bored, and so I start listening to really weird stuff. And I've always had like a draw to, to the strange. And some nights I would listen to Coast to Coast AM.
Nice.
Like this is way back. I mean, this is like
Right.
10, 15 years. And then I would get on certain little like rabbit hole kicks and things like that. And but this time I didn't have the spouse making me feel like I was crazy. Like, not to talk badly about, but it's like when you're
I get
married to
it. I get it.
somebody, it's like you have a voice saying, "Oh, come on, that's crazy stuff."
Right. Well, when you're not in that same level, it really makes it a struggle. So, oh yeah.
So it's like, so then it was like, man, I'm going all the way down this rabbit hole.
There you go.
Stopping me. So it was just like, woo.
Head first.
Like a diver. And so I was just like, it's gonna be so much fun. And so I started with Carrie Cassidy, listened to
nice.
every single Carrie Cassidy. Then what was it, like Alan Watts for the spiritual stuff, and
nice.
everything. I don't know if you ever listened to the Higher Side Chats podcast.
It sounds familiar, but I'm going to write it down just because I always love to.
It's really good. Just kind of a stoner guy that interviews. He gets like Graham Hancock and people like that on there.
Nice.
But then those conspiracy guys out of Scotland, all these things that have started, and then so like down that rabbit hole, I eventually found David, probably through Carrie Cassidy, and then I started meeting other people that were like, "Hey, you know about this too." And,
it's so weird when you start meeting people like that. And you're like, "Wait, what? I'm not crazy." Sweet.
Right. And so then we started like swapping podcasts and swapping YouTube channels, and then it was like, oh, you got to get David Wilcock, his audiobooks, and then man, like the second he started talking about Corey Goode, it was like, this is the craziest, funniest, like, it's not funny when you realize it's real, like some of the terrifying stuff that happened. But when I first heard it, I was like scream laughing, like driving, and I was like, this is the best thing I've ever heard. Like, this is the best story I've ever heard. The part with the where he's talking about the what do you call it, the Stargate system, and like the exact Stargate address,
right,
of the Stargate of Earth, and I was just like, man, like, real or not, this is the hands down the best story I've ever heard on any of these things, and so I was hooked, and somewhere down the line I learned about Gaia, and all the while, like, I'm not getting, I'm working for an hourly wage instead of like I was making money on portraits and selling art, and when I moved, all that kind of crashed and burned. Like, I had this vision of moving to New York City, and it was gonna be like, hey guys, New York City, and but it was like,
it stinks that the painter becomes the grunt, or the actor becomes the grunt. That's kind of the way it ended up for all of us when we're made to feel like it's this pedestal thing. But in a way, it's good, because I think it's been humbling.
Yeah, well, yeah. it's like, every other place I lived, I kind of breezed in and I was like, hey, like the star of the town. And, but not New York, they
Wow,
did
yeah.
it. Man, they're just maxed out with starving artists everywhere. So, so it was like that was kind of like a bubble burst. And then like after just suffering so hard, I'm like, man, I need to get back into the entertainment industry or something. And, the industry changed so much since the 90s, and I was working at Nickelodeon. Like, back then, I brought a portfolio under my arm, on paper.
Everything's all
And
digital now.
yeah, you're like competing against the free world, not just
Right.
like, back then it was like, if you lived in New York and you heard there was this job and you walked in with a paper portfolio, and
Exactly.
they're like, yeah, we'll take this guy, he's fine. But, but then now it's like a totally different world. And so on Corey's Twitter, or the SBA Twitter, I don't know what it was back then, but they had a contest. They mentioned they were thinking about doing a graphic novel. They had a contest to see who could draw the best depiction, like of a blue avian. I think they were looking for intuition, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, oh man, I'm gonna do that. And so I entered the contest. Somebody else won, and then I kind of like, I was like, man, I think I can impress them, So like I kind of keep trying to get to feel what they were looking for, and so I kept submitting blue avians until I got something that caught Roger's eye, caught Corey's eye, and they're like, okay, this guy has a little something. And so I worked with them until I got that blue avian pretty close. And then they asked, can you do this thing? And can you do that thing? And so I was just like staying up all night, over delivering all these projects, because I thought, wouldn't this be just so much fun if I could work for these guys? And so finally, they just saw my heart and my dedication to getting the story right, So that's my passion. Is like I have so much portrait art training. And even though I've done lots of my own art and sold my own art, I'm used to working with clients and being like, accurate.
Right.
And so when I'm doing these portraits of Raw Terrestrial or whoever else, I want it to be a portrait
Right.
of that being,
Well, and I think
So
also your birth date has something to do with it too. Just any of us born in 76, I think we're really, really that attention to detail. Being with
yeah.
that fire dragon, those zodiacs, it's crazy how accurate
Hmm.
they are, because we're pretty fierce when it comes to like, nope, it's going to be this way. But
Okay.
also, I love that you're also very inquisitive minded too. Just like,
I'm also a Pisces,
right?
and this SBA thing is a fairly Pisces operation.
Yes, it is. I would be interested in hearing about your own personal star people or extraterrestrial experiences or interdimensionals. I know a lot of us in this work have had those, and it's always interesting to hear from a fellow. I consider you a brother, a good friend, and heck yeah, let's do this. I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah, yeah. So, man, it goes so deep. Like, as a little kid, man, I had bizarre experiences. Okay, so and I don't know how they all relate. Are they all ET? Are they all what? But it's so interesting. So like my first memory is being baptized in a cathedral at 6 months old.
Wow,
Okay,
that's nuts.
and it's like vivid. I was born in Germany. I was baptized at this place in this cathedral that's apparently like it was like built by the Holy Roman Emperor. Um,
Wow.
you know,
Which would
okay,
not surprise me over at, what was it, Munich that you were born?
it is Nuremberg,
Nuremberg.
very near Munich. But anyway, this is a vivid memory, and it's like, how do I remember that? Like, I just don't. I don't. I never even thought it was odd. And then I'm describing it to my mom, and there was no photographs of it. Eventually, my dad developed a slide and showed it to me. I asked for it. Did you have any slides of my baptism? And there it was. And
awesome.
So that's strange. I believe I've uncovered some past life stuff that connects in, because it's so bizarre. But the past life I found, not looking for this, the guy's father actually sculpted the statues that were above my head while I was being baptized.
Oh,
like
wow.
This is like, I was not looking for that.
That's so
and then
cool.
as I researched it, I discovered that. It was just like, bah,
Right.
whatever. I have memories from this guy's life. Okay.
That's cool.
And so I'm not saying I was him. I'm not, I always err on the side of going, I don't know. Like,
Right.
but for some reason, when I meditate, pictures from this guy's life pop up in my head. Okay. So there's that. He owned monkeys. I was obsessed with monkeys when I was little. I had a little stuffed monkey. I carried around everywhere. I had a banana that would stick in his mouth, and I carried it everywhere, just positively everywhere. The second thing that I carried around was a plush ET.
I love it.
Yeah, believe it or not. Okay,
That's
and
awesome.
so ET, when I see it, I think 81, 82, and when I saw it, I was gone. It was like my whole life was about ET. Okay, it was like later in my life. So I'm not saying these things are related, but at the same time, I really believe this, that I was awake when this was happening. I manifested.
So it when it cut out, it was talking about how you were having some imagery or manifesting, and I'm like, no, come back.
Yes. Yeah. So okay. So I was awake. I was awake because I could hear all the conversation in the room, outside of me. Okay, I could hear my parents. So, all right. So, yeah, I don't know what this phenomenon is. I feel pretty sure I was awake because I could hear perfectly intelligible conversation. I could smell the popcorn my parents were making in the other room in the kitchen. Small house, and so I would be in my bed so hungry for popcorn that I would manifest a bowl of popcorn made out of light in my lap. And whenever this would happen, I know that I couldn't eat it. And if I tried to eat it, it would disappear. Another night, I was thirsty, and I manifested a glass of orange juice made out of light in my lap, in my bed. You know how, like, in a dream, something is wrong.
Right.
You're in the wrong room. There's the wrong layout.
That's when you
That's
start
how I
going lucid. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think I was in my bed, looking at my bed, sitting up,
Nice.
and it could have been in my head, but I manifested things in my lap. But so there's that. I would wake up in strange places in the house all the time. So I'd wake up. I woke up in the bathtub once. Wake up at a different place. I would sleepwalker, and okay. And I would have these nightmares, just like David Wilcock says, I'd have these nightmares of people with mushed out, smeared out faces,
Right.
just like David Wilcock. I'm not saying that it was my labs, I'm not saying that, but I had those dreams. One night, everything was right in the room, okay, nothing I wake up on the couch, look out the window in our place in New Jersey, is Jersey, and I'm looking at a flying saucer, but it's like the same flying saucer. It's not like a Pleiadian craft. It's not like an Area 51. It's like the one that eat, with the flashing lights and everything.
Right.
I kind of, and then on the couch in the morning.
So it stopped whenever you were saying on the couch in the morning.
Okay, yeah. And there was that sense of missing time where I felt like I'd been there for a whole day or something. So,
yeah.
Yeah. So there's that. Not trying to make more of it than what it is, but it seems like maybe a screen memory. I know that when Corey was little, he got visited by a pirate ship. That was like a cloaking, a screen memory.
And I think a lot of times when they come to us, they do it in a way that's comforting to us. Because I remember a lot of like fairies or the light people, the little people, stuff like that.
I wanted to go to the ET planet, so it's kind of like probably an easy cloak to put flashing lights on a saucer. But I'm not saying that happened. Other synchronicities, or I spent it on living on Red Personal, which is the base as a kid, which is the base where what is now NASA was by Werner von Braun.
Okay.
With paperclip scientists and things like that. So that's kind of interesting, right?
Yeah.
But my dad's military, Army. Sorry, does not want to be mentioned on this show. He thinks it's all silly. Okay. So when it really started to happen, I feel like I was pretty matured spiritually, and I was working for Corey. I knew all about not giving fear over to whatever it is. Whatever happens, you don't give it your fear. Okay. But real fast, interesting things started happening. So one night, I don't remember the exact chronology of these events, but I think the first one was waking up with the distinct feeling that there was a gray standing next to my bed. Okay. And seeing it like out of my third eye. Okay?
Right. And they can be creepy mofos too.
Well, this one didn't seem too creepy. This one
good.
seemed like none of it scares me. I don't know why. It doesn't scare me. And I told my friend, I woke my friend and said, I just saw an ET. I just saw a gray stand next to my head. And she was like, oh, cool. And went back to sleep. They all happened in the same location right in this house that I'm at now.
Wow.
The bed. I could show you the exact location.
That's funny. Well, and it reminds me, actually, your reaction, or I guess your response to the grays reminds me a lot of my sister, because she's had different experiences with grays. For me, I just think they're kind of weird looking, and I don't like. I'm like, dude, I don't want to see that.
These were it was like this one was kind of cute, like the way I perceived it, if it was even there. I'm not, but the other things I'm going to tell you, I'm pretty sure about. Okay. Then in the same location, okay, the same bed, I kid you not, broad daylight, 2 fingers under the back of my neck. Like they place like this, what is it called? The occipital protuberance.
Right.
This little knot on the back of your skull.
Right.
Between there, like that little recess back there.
Oh, your orbital axis.
The nuchal ligament.
Right.
So back there, I feel these little fingers crawling around. Not little fingers like fingers, like crawling feeling around, walking around on the back of my neck. And
wow.
And so my friend's back is facing me, okay, sleeping. So I know it's not her. It's not me, because my arms are to my sides
Right.
or to my front, like not back here.
It's weird, huh?
And it's broad daylight. I was fully awake, going, "Who is doing that?" And I thought it was one of her kids, and I said something, and I realized they were at their dad's house. It wasn't.
Wow.
We were completely alone, and she was asleep, back turning. So something happened. Then another time, same location. My friend is at work, broad daylight. Okay. I can only open my eyelids. Can't move my eyeballs.
Oh yeah, I hate when
Open
your
and
whole
close my eyes.
body's frozen like that.
I thought it was cool. Like
Really?
it was.
Oh,
I was like, hey, it's a sleep paralysis.
at least you can open your eyes.
And so, and I had that feeling that there was something over in the corner, right?
Right.
That's all that. I'm not taking it that serious. I'm going. I've got protection. I always felt protected and safe. And it's a little bit unnerving, but I know you don't give it that fear.
Right.
Another time, same location. This is the middle of the night. Like a crash. It sounded like somebody dropped an armload of dishes over my head. It's like,
Wow.
crash! And I
Holy
jumped out of bed. I jumped out of bed and shouted. And she was still asleep. And and it didn't hear anything. And I went back. I still don't know what that could have been. Okay, but then this is the weird thing. So I would say a year, 2 years pass, almost nothing happens. Okay.
Right.
And then the weirdest thing. So this was last year, and I to this day have no idea what this is. If anyone else has experienced this, I would love to hear about it. So hit me up. But so I wake up humming. First, I'm dreaming of humming, and I'm dreaming of this vibration, physical vibration, going through my skull, especially my teeth, and then going down my chest. Okay?
Is it kind of like a low vibration, like really deep sounding?
It's yes, but it's so deep that it's
Like
like
low
vibrating,
decimals, right? Your
like an
whole body.
intense. Yes, my whole body. Okay, so but it's like pulsing like this. And to my perception, my friend is humming as well.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
Now, only for a second, and I could be wrong about that. But what I also experienced, I was fully awake, was something outside of the house. Like, whoa. It was like the way I described it, it was like a steady, like if you paused a choir of angels and just like,
Oh, that's cool.
the single tone like that. That's what it was like. And it was and at the same time this vibration pulsing through my teeth, my head, my teeth, my chest.
I've experienced the low vibration one, but not the angel thing or whatever. But wow.
Okay. But all right. So and it's and it sounded like in a way like an electronic noise, in a way like stereotypical sci-fi noise or something.
Right.
And okay, like something from Doctor Who or something, and so but here's the thing. So I get on Facebook and I'm like, oh, here it is. This is the Ascension or something. And I'm looking on Facebook. I'm like, surely everybody's talking about this, and nothing. But so I know I'm awake. 20 minutes, and I even email myself or something like, make sure I'm awake.
Right.
And so texted myself or something. And so after 20 minutes, okay, like slowly the so I've stopped humming long ago, but this vibration is still pulsing through my head, my teeth, my chest. Head, teeth, chest, just the same as if I was humming. Okay.
Right.
And at the same time, this thing going on outside. Slowly it tapers, and slowly this tapers off at the same exact rate until that's gone and this is gone.
That's a good question. I would love to know as well, just because like I said, that low vibration humming I've experienced quite often. My friend Sue also, like I said, I was actually talking with her the other night about that feeling, because she was saying how she was feeling agitated. She's like, "What is that vibration?" I'm like a low hum, and you feel like it's to the bone. For me, it's like even my head is rattling almost like a drum, because the vibration, because you know how like the frequencies are just or however low.
It's like you may as well have your head on a speaker that's playing loud music. Like
with
that's
those
what
decibels.
It's like it's not audibly loud, but it's
No,
the sensation
you can
is like
feel it.
lying on a loudspeaker. Yeah.
Yes, and I don't like it with the low
That's pretty
stuff.
cool.
Because it's just almost like it's painful physically.
It almost was, yeah. But it wasn't, but it was just like, I like that feeling, like, oh wow, something like real just happened.
And I'm wondering if you're getting some sort of like a Akashic download or something, maybe with the higher pitch stuff. Would make sense. Maybe they're doing like, what did they call it, voice of God thing or something?
This is so loud. It was so like physical. It wasn't like, nobody in the world would go, hey, is something happening? Like, is I really feeling something? It was like, it was like as physical as if you slapped me in the face.
Right. And that makes sense. It absolutely makes sense. We've had some real weird shit happen. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be interesting to for anybody that would have any comments to definitely hear on that, because I want to know too. I'd like to segue into some of the stuff that you've been doing with Corey Goode and the Spear Being Alliance with your graphic novel that you guys are doing. Kind of how Corey vets himself out in this process. I think a lot of people might be interested in kind of understanding how that's flowing. And I'm always interested in the spiritual side, and so hey, let's go ahead and go from there.
Yeah. Well, as you know, I'm quite a I'm like an open-minded skeptic. Okay, so like I always have the philosophy to like err on skepticism, but open-mindedness. Like, yes, maybe. That's like my attitude to everything. Like, you say you're this thing, maybe you are. Even myself, like, did this thing happen? Maybe. I look at things through that lens, and I approach Corey that way. Like, this is the best story I've ever heard. Is it true? Maybe. Okay. I was publicly interviewed at Contact in the Desert with Corey. The first time I met him was on stage. Met him in person, was on stage. At Contact in the Desert, Jimmy Church. It was like, biggest freak out. This thing happening to me. Felt like I bombed it too.
Oh shoot! It always feels that way, doesn't it?
Okay, but anyway, I was like so upfront. I was like, there's a skeptical part of me that like I have this certain like piece of skepticism that I hold on to because I feel like it's healthy.
Yeah, I think that does definitely make a good process to have.
Yeah, I think it's healthy to always check even yourself. Vet yourself most of all, I think. But as this process goes on, as the process went on of making the comic, the 24-page comic, then the graphic novel, which we're a large part of the way through. To me, Corey checks out like he vets himself like over and over again in ways that he doesn't even know he's doing.
Awesome.
So, like through Corey's experiences, he has memory, challenges with the memory, I believe, or I was told. and these things come up, like, you know, you have trouble remembering, like, things you said yesterday or last week, but man, his story, just every time it's like right on the money. You know, he never trips himself up.
Awesome.
You know, he might misspeak and say, like, you know, constantly, and say, I was an animator at Nickelodeon, you know, and I'll say, I was just an illustrator, I wasn't an animator. They keep saying I was an animator. You know, because, but he didn't do that with his story. Like, his story is watertight, like every time. And the cool thing is, you know, while he's making these descriptions, and I'm trying to make them as accurate as I can, something will seemingly not make sense. I go, hang on here, and it'll seem like there's a crack in the story, right? And or in the picture, and then, but when he explains it, you go, that was the piece that explained all of it. You know,
Awesome.
This kind of thing keeps happening over and over again. Secondly, and I did talk about this at Contact, it's the designs of things. So, you know, Corey has no design background, all right, but he's describing the crown, the tiaras that the Mayans put over his head,
Right.
the ships, hair designs, you know, of the ETs, even like the faces of the blue avians, which are not dissimilar, but not exactly similar to the ones that people are used to.
Right.
But the closer I get to his descriptions, the more they make sense. The more beautiful these objects are. They're like, it's like, wow, this tiara is a beautiful design.
That's awesome.
And you're telling me Corey thought of that? Like, that's what you're telling me, that Corey thought of this gorgeous thing,
right,
that was put on his head? I don't think so. He didn't design it. He didn't design these ships, and he didn't design these ETs. Like, the closer I get to Tier Air, like, the more beautiful, the more it looks back at you, the more loving expression you see on its face.
That's awesome.
And to me, that's not accidental. The third piece of this I can think of is the fictional bits. Okay, so, okay, like, for one, we're really trying to be inclusive in our story. Okay, and we're trying to include diversity, you know, in ethnicity, skin color. You know, I don't like the word race. Like, nobody's in competition.
Right.
But, you know, what they call race. The different ethnicities of people, okay? You know, it happens that Corey's a white guy, and that the story as it is didn't
Well,
have
somewhat anyway. I know he's part Native American,
right.
so he does have the
But
indigenous lines.
you're quite right. You're quite right. But, you know, we wanted to have more dark-skinned people in the story. Okay.
Which
Corey
actually checks out for those of us that have been experiencers. I actually have seen more people of color and beings of color than I have of, like, the Pleiadian or Nordics that people like to talk about. That's actually the minority that I've noticed in the star beings. It's always been something of color, maybe blue skin or darker skin, black skin, brown skin, red skin, your olive skin. I haven't had very many experiences with white beings. It's always been people of color. So that actually, for me, confirms more of, you know, even vetting it out for what you're talking about for me, even.
Right, but as far as, like, the main characters, you know, the main characters are Corey and Stacy, and so you have these really strong, you know, lead roles happening.
Right.
And no real strong people of color, you know, in like the leading or supporting roles.
Mm-hmm.
So Corey and Roger and Leon, I guess, invented characters, okay, and they're open about this, okay. Like Corey could have easily said, "Oh yeah, there was this kid named so and so, and he was a black kid, and he was here, and he was my best friend," but he didn't say that. He said, we're going to put a fictional character in there, okay. He could have easily just told me, "Oh yeah, there was this kid that was part of the programs, and he was next to me the whole time." Another example of that is, okay, so there's a remote viewing scenario where he was put in a sensory depth tank at as a teenager or a boy, and he was remote viewing an ET base, an underwater ET base, okay? And it was not the Zulu, okay, that he was remote viewing. And he's open about that. It was not the Zulu, but he made it the Zulu to have more aliens of color, ETs of color in the story, okay? Because that's important. I think
right.
In our culture, as a graphic novel that's being presented to an American audience, we're a multicultural society.
Well, and creating a character that's relatable sometimes can make ease into that. It's really cool though, because he's still telling the truth by adding the people of color, because it really is like that anyway, and just bringing that flow. And I like that you're saying that he's honest, that it's a created character. That's really cool.
He could just as easily go, because there were too many white, so this is really part of the idea of making it into a movie. Yeah.
There we go. So it broke off where you said that's the idea of making it into a movie.
Correct. Yeah. Yes. Is to to have more strong actors of color, but the fact that he's open about changing the plot, that's like to me very indicative of the honest person that Corey is.
Right.
Yeah.
He has a very kind energy as well, from what I've observed. When I went to Dimensions of Disclosure, I wasn't able to meet him at that time because I was going through my own PTSD. And so I actually sat outside and did a lot of meditation and worked with people instead of watching it. And I watched the replays later. But that's kind of the way I get sometimes in especially in crowded rooms. I don't like that big of they turn down the lights, there's a lot of loud noise and a lot of people, I'm out of there. So there were some energies. Oh boy.
I'll tell you though, he has a very warm, like a very peaceful, loving presence, but man, he's you're sitting in a room with somebody who's been through a lot,
right,
and who's seen a lot, and that comes across.
Well, and for me, I wanted to interject this. I feel like it's important just because of what I went through when I was there. And part of the reason, like I said, I stayed outside. When I approached the room to go in to listen to him, it was like this dark wall I ran into, this energy that was just this fear, this darkness that was like, I could not go in there. And I remember seeing him on stage speaking, but that darkness, and I'm like, I know that's not him, because I, listening to him for the past couple years before that, but I took off, went into the bathroom, and was in this full-on panic mode. And so I had to gather myself. I did some mind-changing techniques, reframing and stuff, went back out and almost could see this shadow, and I was just like, no. And it's interesting because another friend, I'm not going to mention names just because I don't know if they want their name out there, but this other person saw me and they could see like this energetic burst. So I'm not sure what that is, but the fact that something was that big, that dark at Dimensions of Disclosure, not wanting people to hear his message, that's the way I interpreted it. They did not want me to meet him or to hear this. And I'm like, that's real. There is something going on that is real, because if it wasn't, something would not be trying that hard to keep people from hearing that message. And it
Was
scared
this
the hell
Loveland?
out of me.
Was it Loveland?
No, it was when we were in Ventura Beach. It was
Okay.
in August of
Okay.
2019 when I was in the
Man,
DOD there.
because the DOD in Loveland, Colorado, man, everybody felt it. It was
Yeah.
like there was this.
There's something dark
Everybody's
that was
falling.
there.
Nobody could stay awake. That was one of
Wow.
the weird things. Is like everybody was feeling like they were falling asleep. Everybody was feeling like they were overwhelmed with this heavy, drowsy energy. It's like this. It was like the scene in Wizard of Oz where there's a
Yes,
poppy
the
field.
flower, the poppy
It's like
field.
everybody's like, oh, it's this dark, low
It's crazy what that is,
energy,
but
and
that,
it felt like it did feel like in some kind of artificial
yes, something, and
pattern.
it does not want him sharing. But I'm like, dude, for me, that was like, that's real. There was no reason, yeah, there was no reason that he would be faking it if there's something that dark trying to stop him. So for me, that was one of the biggest, yeah, this is real
Yeah.
wake ups. So,
Um, uh, 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 um, another this is like another reason that I've come to really believe him. He doesn't talk about much. Okay, not a very animated person. All right,
right.
um, and good guy, but not like he's not gonna sit around banter with me all day. Maybe he would if I got closer to him.
Hmm.
But man, when he starts talking about the SSP and he's not on camera, when he starts talking about his experiences, he's up walking around in it like he's in a it's like he's in a
You're
he's
reliving
finished.
it.
He's like, and this thing is over here. It's uh
Right.
you can tell it's very real, and
Hmm.
he's reliving it as he describes it.
Awesome. I apologize about some of the technical issues. Sometimes that happens, but we will go ahead and wrap this up. Steve was talking about some stuff that he'd like to wrap up with, a children's book that he's doing. We've got a couple of websites where you can get a hold of Stephen, support him, and also to support for Corey Goode, because we know that any of us that have been in any kind of these programs definitely could use help, because this is something that we are giving all of our time on. We're not becoming wealthy on, and turning this back over to Steve, he'll definitely talk about that. So yeah, let's go ahead and do our wrap up.
Yeah. So, like first of all, I want to talk about people. Let them know where we are in the process of making this graphic novel. As many of you know, it's been delayed and delayed and delayed, but boy, will you be happy, with the results. The thing is that the more involved we get in this, the more people get involved with us, the more professional writers and artists and things get involved with it. And so basically the graphic novel, the text portion of it, the words, the text is being rewritten, okay, by professionals, okay, and these are professionals in the entertainment industry, okay, that are part of things that we all know about, okay.
Nice.
They're very, very famous people that are part of very famous, widely celebrated things that we're very excited to have on the team.
And there's
Okay.
always a lot of hoops to go through, so absolutely understandable for
Yeah.
pushing back
So,
each time.
yes. So this is really exciting, and it's going to be a better graphic novel for the delays. Okay. I'm very excited. Okay. Secondly, there's, as we know, there's been attacks on Corey, and in various ways, legal type disputes, and as well as like
There's some crazy people out there
social
making threats
media.
and videos, just absolutely uncalled for
Yeah,
any person to act like that. Just ridiculous.
I agree. I agree, and I just want to say I'm nobody's enemy out there. Okay,
Right.
there's no reason to attack me. I'm an artist. Maybe I'm not perfect. I, I'm an artist, and I'm here to have a good time, make good stuff, and tell a great story. Okay,
Yeah, just live life
nobody's
and love
enemy.
life.
Yeah. Okay. Um, so there's those setbacks. Some of them are very positive. Um, but I've done most of the pages. I've done the art for most of the pages, and it's going to be spectacular. I've put my heart and soul in this to make it the best thing that I could possibly make for you and for the sake of the story. We've all put more into this than we're getting out of it. I
Right.
promise you. Okay, we are not getting rich off this thing. Okay, this has been one of the hardest financial years of my life. It's been hard on Corey financially. All of us
Yeah.
have taken financial hits. That's Corey's doing this course. He does the conferences and all that. Um, these are necessary things he has to
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 even
break.
pay your bills, I mean, to
Yeah,
break even, you've
yeah,
got to do things like this. For
yeah,
anyone that ends up being shoved into the entertainment industry, and that's kind of
yeah,
what happened to Corey. He got shoved into it against his will, where he had this great job, and I understand. And yeah, he could definitely, anybody out there listening, please support,
yeah,
because
yeah.
this is real stuff. I mean,
Yes, and he's
being
investing a
sabotaged.
lot into these projects, um, and nobody's a millionaire. Like, to be honest, I hope I become a
I know,
millionaire.
right?
I'll help my friends out. I promise. Um, but so that would be nice. I'm sure you all wish you were millionaires too.
Oh God.
But so I'm not saying no to the money.
Right.
Okay? But man, anybody who's saying disclosure for profit and all that sort of thing, it's nonsense. This is there's a lot more going into these projects than has come back, and we'll be very, very pleased if and besides the legal fees
Right.
that Corey's having to deal with, those sort of things. So so don't worry about it. This is an honest operation of people trying to do a good job and sharing a great message.
Right. And I've met a lot of these people. Corey, I haven't met personally yet. I did meet David Wilcock briefly. I've met some other truthers that are, a lot of these journalists, like you might hear of, like Jordan Sather or Ben and Rob, Ben Chastity and Rob Counts. And the list goes on. There's a lot of people out there that, sharing information to help raise vibrations, to at least get something out there that's being hidden. To me, that just makes a higher efficacy on things whenever your government or anyone else is trying to sabotage or to hide something, to
Yeah,
destroy something. I'm sorry, but that makes it a lot more like, wait, what's going on? Because there's a lot
but
of truth with that.
Corey said something really cool last year on a show somewhere. He said, what if, we've had all these tools used on our consciousness. I'm paraphrasing. under the radar, like
Right.
To to um, put information in our heads or give us misinformation.
Yes.
Like, what if we use the same tools to openly share information for the disclosure of information?
Right.
You know,
Well, and
for
the amount of
enlightenment.
people being killed to bring stuff out, you know. So,
Even though I've put, I'm putting all of my time pretty much into these projects surrounding, like, similar projects. I'm doing some illustration for other people. It's all kind of this disclosure genre.
Mhm.
There is I'm working on a children's book with an author that we'll tell
Nice.
you more about later. I don't want to misspeak about it,
Right.
but it's a very beautiful, very cute. Your kids will love it. It's high vibrational messages that tie in very well with all this. There's
That's
somebody from
cool.
the disclosure community, and you'll dig it.
Awesome. Awesome.
So I got that going on, but yeah, these things are expensive to make. I'm struggling to make rent every month. Struggling to make rent, struggling to buy groceries.
Amen to that.
Yeah, and my fine art stuff is on pause. I'll get a portrait commission every once in a while, something like that. But yeah, my art's for sale. If you want to help a struggling artist.
Gorgeous art. Absolutely gorgeous
Yeah,
art.
thank you. I I I teach. I give online lessons, like over Zoom.
Awesome.
If you want to learn to do what I do, like I'm a traditional artist, as well as drawing aliens and stuff. I draw. I still make traditional art, um, classical drawing and painting, and a lot of stuff's available online. Some of it physical, some of it in the form of prints,
Nice.
reproductions. Yeah, if you're curious, check out my website. It's got a whole array of my work on there, even some of my animations that I created.
Awesome. And those are really fun. I've seen a lot of Steve's work. StevenCefalo.com. That's Steven with a PH. Stephen, and then Cefalo, Cefalo, StevenCefalo.com. And shout out for Corey Goode to help him. His ascension training is a really, really good positive training for those that are just kind of curious. Accelerating ascension.com, and that's on the Sphere Being Alliance page here on Facebook. So acceleratingascension.com to
I'm
help
gonna do
Corey
it.
get out.
I'm gonna take the course.
There you go. There you go. And I've been curious myself. Some friends and I, we do our own ascension trainings and everything, but I love that open-mindedness and always looking at what are other people doing? How can we be more together, more unified as a community in raising our vibrations and service to others? And so
Well,
absolutely.
he's spoken to the Blue Avians and to the Yanshar, and he's sharing what he's learned. So it's gonna definitely be a different perspective.
Right. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Steve. It's been awesome to talk with you again. And I'm sure that newcomers to your art is just going to fall in love with it, just like I have, and those that know you. And great discussion here. I'll go ahead and sign off. Thanks so much, everybody, for listening to HeartMind Expressions podcast. Amária Sweet and Steve Cefalo signing off.
Thank you.